in Audit Profile. Before starting the session, I would like to take a couple of minutes to tell you about Aspire. Aspire is a one-stop solution for aspirants of various professional qualifications. We cater aspirants of 7 courses which are CA, CFA, CS, CMA, CPA, FRM and ACCA. Aspire provides help to aspirants in 2 ways: information and services. Information on our website is curated in a way that helps students in preparation in a holistic manner, from eligibility criteria to all about the courses, the future opportunities available, as well as teachers to be selected, the revision links from YouTube that can be referred to study, and the mock papers that can be attempted are available on the website. We have numerous blogs which help and provide guidance in your study planning as well as in planning your revision. Our services include one-to-one mentorship, webinar, and workshop programs. One-to-one mentorship, we have a team of 40 mentors who have passed the same journey as yours with flying colors. Our minimal charges on one-to-one mentorship ensure and provide guidance, whether it is related to career, to what career is best for you, how to you proceed with the course or studies, and how to deal with failure and disappointment. Webinar and workshop programs. We conduct various webinars on key topics which are free of cost. Our workshops like interview combo workshops happen periodically, and they are bridge the gap between knowledge and information. Our YouTube channel has all these webinars and workshops recorded, uploaded in case you missed them. As well as we are starting our broadcast in the month of March, wherein you will find and get various speakers talk about their journey, struggles they came across, and how they overcome each one of them to be successful. You will visit on our website to know about more about us. Speaking about preparing for Audit Profile, this is the third session of our series of 9 sessions where you will be preparing in wholesome manner to give your articleship interview. The webinars are free of cost and will be conducted on Saturdays and Sundays at 12 o'clock. To stay updated, you can join using registration links as well as join WhatsApp group to get daily updates. Although the webinars are free of cost, in case you want to avail our after services such as CV reviewing, LinkedIn reviewing, access to our ebook which has numerous questions from frequently asked, HR questions, audit questions, tax questions, as well as their answers, along with what to study, how to study for interview. We will also try to help you to get referrals and district forms. Along with our vast services, certification or participation will be given to those who avail our paid workshop for just 500. To avail the same, you can drop a message or you can fill the form. And to ensure that we will be assisting you best, we can have some topic after the doubt session. After you can ask your questions. Feel free to ask anything about the topic or share your problems and experience. We will respond to your questions by the end of each guest session. I will be reading out your questions so that we can respond to them at the end of the presentation. So, without the further delay, let me present you the expert for the session. Soham Gawde, who is currently pursuing his industrial training from DBS, and Vansh Chhajer, who is an article trainee at EY. About our Soham Gawde, who is currently pursuing his industrial training from DBS, and Vansh Chhajer, who is an article trainee at EY. About our mentors, Soham Gawde. He is a CA finalist doing strategy and planning industrial training at DBS. He completed his articleship from GT Mumbai. Soham has always been an all-rounder, excelling in all the fields throughout his career. He is selected in the first round of interview only by the managers and got praised by the director himself. Vansh Chhajer. Vansh has cleared his CA Inter in May 22, and it's been 5 months since he joined EY as an article assistant. He is a technophile who is enthusiastic about new technologies, innovation. Vansh is a confident and determined individual as an explorer who want new experiences in his professional and academic life. He enjoys working in this profile and sharing his experience of working in the profile he is rooting for. Now, I would like the speakers to take over.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much, Aspire CA, for giving me this opportunity. That was an amazing introduction, Riddhima. So, first of all, am I audible as well as visible to everyone? Can I get a thumbs up in chat box, please? Thumbs up, guys. Okay, great, great, great. So, let's start with our session. So, before starting the session, like how to get into profile, first let's understand what actually audit is. So, can we go on to the next slide, please? So we all know that whether an organization is a profit oriented or a not profit oriented organization, each organization has some transactions. Now those transactions need to be audited by someone, and that responsibility lies with a chartered accountant. This responsibility has been given by our institute as well as the Companies Act. And when we say audit, what we actually do in audit? So as per the theoretical definition, it is nothing but an independent and systematic examination of companies' financial records and procedures as well as operations. Now, why are we doing this audit? First of all, the reason why we are performing the audit procedures and getting a conclusion whether the financial statements are showing true and fair view, there are two purposes for this. First of all, whether the organization's financial statements are showing true and fair view. Now, this we need to give to our stakeholders. Now, who are the stakeholders of a organization? So, when we talk of a company, whether it's listed or unlisted, the stakeholders include employees, shareholders, then the promoters, then the employees of the company. All these stakeholders form very important part of an organization. And when we say financial statements, someone has to say that the financial statements are showing true and fair view. Now, this happened like everyone in our CA profession thinks that audit is a theoretical subject and there are no practical implications of it. But guys, let me tell you that audit is the most practical subject in our CA profession. So, to give an example, what we CA students think that institute requires a CA student to mug up the entire audit syllabus, and then we have to go and present that in our paper, and then only we get marks. But let me tell you a story which happened in 2013. So till 2013, what used to happen? Every CA student used to write answers in a subjective manner. Like every CA student's answer of a theory question shall be different. Only the points will be same. So what institute used to give? Institute used to give marks for all these questions. But then what happened? Two CA students, what they used to do, they used to compare their answers. And when they thought that his answer is better and my answer is not better, they should click a picture and they should send to institute saying that my answer is having the same points which his answer is having. And from there, from 2013, institute started to strictly checking the audit papers, and they decided that the audit answers should be as per the content which is given in the standards on auditing, which is ASIL. Now, when we understood that what actually audit is, let us start that how to get into this profile. For that, I would request Vansh to continue.
Yeah, so as Soham rightly said that till 2013 it was quite theoretical paper, right? And now it has been more focused on practicality. So we get case studies in our exams, and we are like in my paper in May 22, I just used few words continuously like independent, like like there are 4 or 5 words which institute sees into paper as a 200 objectivity. Auditors should be objective, professional, skepticism. So if you use those words in your answer sheet, the uh, examiner is already impressed. And as he said, to continue on how to get into this profile. So like after my examinations in May 22, I started searching for articleship, right? And my major focus during that period was that I get into a tax profile or a different profile rather than audit. But as I researched more about different profiles, I thought audit is more suitable to me in starting off my career, since
internal and external audit, so broadly there are two differences rather I would say. An internal auditor may be an employee or may not be an employee of the company. Again, he may be a CA or he may not be a CA of the company. But a statutory auditor needs to be a chartered accountant. So here one plus point for VCA students is that only VCAs can do the statutory audit of a company. So one plus point of you doing articleship in audit is that post qualification there are plenty of opportunities for you. Now this happened first point. Now let us understand first the difference between two internal as well as statutory audit. So when we talk of internal audit, it is mainly process audit. So in every organization there are various processes. They include finance process, HR process, then people process, then for example we have the entire sales order process, the entire purchase process. Now each process is audited by an internal auditor and they give feedback to the client. So here comes one more difference between statutory audit and internal audit. In statutory audit, we give opinion on the financial statements, whether the financial statements, the numbers mentioned in the financial statements are showing true and fair view or not. But in internal audit, we are giving clients some value additions and saying that in these areas, the client needs improvement, and in these areas, the client processes are already good. Now, this happened the second difference between internal as well as external audit. Then the third difference is the internal audit is kind of a continuous audit. So it happens on a quarterly basis. So to highlight what actually internal audit is, so in each quarter, the CA firm, or rather I would say the employee of the company, undertakes few processes in an organization. So it is not possible for an internal auditor to take all the processes at one time. So in each quarter, supposedly in Q1, in first quarter from April to June, the internal auditor audited HR process. Then in second quarter, he audited finance process, he audited sales process. In third quarter, he audited purchase process and so on. So on every process, he gives his comments, what value addition the organization can give, or rather I would say what improvement the organization can make in making that process more efficient and more customer friendly. So now that we know that the three differences between internal as well as external audit, now the fourth difference is that in internal audit, it is determined by the management. So it is not mandatory for an organization to do internal audit. It is mandatory for the listed company, which is given by Section 138 of Companies Act. But for statutory audit, each organization, whether it is a listed or a private company, statutory audit is mandatory by law. So the company law itself specifies that each company has to make its financial audited by a chartered accountant. So here comes major advantage for the chartered accountant. So when you qualify your examinations, CFNL examinations, you have plenty of opportunities in this field, because in this field has the monopoly of chartered accountants. I think Vansh can add on this regarding internal as well as statutory audit.
Yeah. So as he rightly mentioned, the five differences, like I'll share my own experience of working in stat audit. Like he said that only a CA works in stat audit. So so recently I went to Singapore for at a client place for an audit from EY. So there we met the EY Singapore partner. So he said that youngsters today don't want to go into stat audit profile because they think it is a very monotonous task to do audit, to like prepare work papers. So generally what we do in Big Four is like we just roll forward previous year work papers and then we just fill in the Excel sheet and then we try to find issues based on our analysis. So that's the kind of process we follow in stat audit. So he was quite emotional, and he has been into this profile for approximately 40 years now, and seeing that people don't want to go into stat audit made him emotional, right? Similar cases with internal audit, like it is more monotonous task than stat audit, because every year they just go into processes, then they just they check the process. There are no deficiencies in the processes. So like I would say that internal audit is basically more in-depth analysis of processes rather than stat audit. In stat audit, we rely on those internal audit reports for those process understandings, and we do add-on analysis that what like we perform, like you must have studied also in audit, the test of controls. So basically we do not check the entire control, but rather we focus on a few samples, and then we perform testing on that samples, that whether the process which is defined in according to internal audit is being followed in the organization. And at times there is clashes between internal auditor and stat auditor, because recently at my client place in MACD, I was auditing MACD, and in that internal auditor was KPMG and the stat auditors were EY. So the client is like, we have already explained our processes to KPMG, just go and understand the process from them and then perform your analysis. So that gives client also an opportunity that to like so that internal and stat auditors fight among themselves, and uh, they just enjoy that moment between themselves.
Yeah, actually, Vansh, even I have experienced this, that internal and external auditors do help each other as well as do fight with each other. So, moving on to what all things you as a CA student should do to get into this audit profile. So, first of all, our entire inter syllabus, you all know there are 8 subjects, and then these subjects are going to tremendously help you if you are going into statutory audit. So, what actually statutory audit is? Statutory audit is not solely audit subject. The paper 6 which you have studied in CA Inter, along with that, you should also have the knowledge of accounting concepts, company law, then taxation. Then, along with that, the standards on auditing which have been prescribed by ICAI, as well as the auditing procedures which you will perform based on the technical knowledge you have got during the from your inter syllabus. So 4 subjects get covered in one sole activity of auditing. Now, this is not the case with internal audit. This is not the case with taxation. This is the case with statutory audit. You get to apply the concepts which you are learning in your CA syllabus to apply during an articleship period. In internal audit, it is more of a kind of a common sense, or rather I would say it is more of kind of business acumen which is required to get into internal audit. But in statutory audit, if you are interested in these 4 subjects of auditing, accounting, taxation, and company law, you should go for statutory audit. Now, when I say that you should go for statutory audit, why I'm insisting on going for statutory audit is that this is the safest field for we chartered accountants. First of all, as you know, we have monopoly in auditing. Then secondly, one major advantage which you have is that you can easily switch to other roles in the industry as well as in our profession. So when I say this, why I'm saying this, whether it's financial modeling, the basic understanding of financials is needed, that which item lies in under which head. Then secondly, if you want to go into financial due diligence, the basic understanding of financial statements is needed, which we get through auditing. Each field, whether it's taxation, so to take the example of taxation, we CAs do tax audits. So when you go into auditing profession, what all things you do? First of all, you do limited review, which is nothing but interim audit of an financial statements. Then you do year-end audit. Then thirdly, you do tax audits. Now, when I talk of tax audits, those are nothing but those are 44 clauses which have been mentioned by the income tax that we need to follow, that we need to apply, and we need to disclose a tax audit report. Now, that may be in form 3CD or 3CA, as the case may be. Now, when I say this, that we CA students will get an opportunity post-qualification as well, we can also go into industry. We can easily switch from a CA firm who has audit background into an industry. So why I am saying this is that the reason is most of the CFOs of a company are chartered accountants. Now, when I talk of chief financial officers, it is not easy to become a chief financial officer of an organization. So where I am working currently, I am doing my industrial training from DBS Bank. There, the CFO is a chartered accountant. Earlier, when I was doing my auditing from Grant Thornton, the client which I was auditing, all the clients had the CFOs who were chartered accountants having audit background. So auditing gives you that edge over others when you are trying to apply in industry as well. So a lot of benefit you get when you apply from a CA firm, when you are shifting from a CA firm to an industry. Now, Vansh, if you have any point, you can add on this.
So as you mentioned that we perform LRs, we perform interims, and then we go for year-end audit. Then we also do tax audits. Like that's quite. Sometimes I have performed 2 LRs. So I have joined EY in September, and then so basically one interim, 2 LRs, and I'm going to go for year-end also this year, 31st March 23. But to be honest, the experience is really amazing because. Majorly what we do in audit stat audit is we find issues like that is the best part of being into stat audit profile. And you, as you rightly said, we get a basic understanding of financials, and then obviously we can switch our careers at some point of time. And basically those who join stat audit as a profile, their main focus is majorly that either they will switch into finance profile, or they will go for industrial trainee, or post qualification they will go for corporates, because many of my seniors have done this in this past 6 months. Like in Q2 I had different team, in Q3 I had a different team. Like that's the artisan rate in UI in stat audit profile. Everything is changed in 1 quarter only. And this time though, in pre-quarter also I noticed that many of the people, and the best part of stat audit is when like quarterly results are announced by the companies. And like that, I don't know about mid-size and small size firms, but before practice this, that they perform pre-quarter. So they initially do 2 months audit, and they find issues, then they get comfort on financials, and then they will do 1 month audit, and then they will announce the results by 5th or 6th of next month. So that's the general practice. And then people also are relying on this our like audited financials. So yeah, star audit is a really amazing profile if you are in the initial stage of your career. That's I have experienced till now. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So that now we know that how important is statutory audit. First, let's understand what actually we do in statutory audit. So can we have the next slide, please? Okay, great. So when we talk of audit, first of all, we have to follow the assays which have been prescribed by the ICAI. So when I say that standards on auditing need to be followed, they need to be mandatorily followed. They mention all the procedures which we have to perform as an auditor. So what actually we do, we take the financials which the client will be preparing and they will be sharing with us. We take each line item in a financial statement. Now, when I say financials, just imagine the format which has been mentioned in Companies Act. So first it comes property, plant and equipment, then intangible assets, then we So when we talk of audit, first of all, we have to follow the assays which have been prescribed by the ICAI. So when I say that standards on auditing need to be followed, they need to be mandatorily followed. They mention all the procedures which we have to perform as an auditor. So what actually we do, we take the financials which the client will be preparing and they will be sharing with us. We take each line item in a financial statement. Now, when I say financials, just imagine the format which has been mentioned in Companies Act. So first it comes property, plant and equipment, then intangible assets, then we have current assets, investments. All these things are mentioned in the financial statement. Now, what we do as an statutory auditor is that we take a line item. Supposing we took property, plant and equipment. So related to that, we perform all the procedures which have been mentioned in assays. Along with that, we also see the cargo reporting which have been prescribed by ICAI only as well as MCA. Then along with that, we also check whether the client is following all the provisions which have been prescribed in Ind AS or AS as the client has to follow. Now, when I say Ind AS and AS, there are certain rules which if a client fulfills, they have to follow Ind AS. And if they are not fulfilling, then they have to follow accounting standards only. So along with auditing, you are also following Companies Act. You are also following provisions of taxation. You are also following accounting standards, which you have learned as well as you will be learning in financial reporting for CA Finance syllabus. Then along with that, you are also going to apply the essays which you have learned in Inter, practically how you are going to do an audit. So all these things happen during a practical audit. Now, what are the learnings from this? First of all, you learn to analyze financial statements. You understand how the unit economics work of an organization. So when I say unit economics, how the revenue client is generating and where the client is making its expenses. So when I say this, the person who is auditing profit and loss account will get to learn this. So when he takes revenue as an item, he has to first understand the revenue model of the client, the business model which client is implementing, or rather the client has implemented. He has to first understand this. So here comes one most important understanding of the business model of the client. So how the client actually generating revenue. Then, secondly, what we do as an auditor, first of all, before starting an audit, we do a planning meeting of the engagement team. Now, when I say engagement team, it is a team which is going to audit the financial statements. Now, when we do the planning meeting, there the engagement partner, who is a qualified chartered accountant, first of all explains what the client is, in what business the client is, in what industry the client is working. Through that, you understand the industry and the environment in which the client is working. Then, along with that, post that, we do IFC testing as per the applicability. So IFC testing is applicable for listed companies and to certain private companies. So if some criteria is fulfilled by the private companies. Now, when we do IFC testing, it is similar that of an internal audit only. We do testing of the procedures, or rather I would say processes that an organization has. So what we do, we perform walkthroughs. Now, when I say walkthrough, we perform the entire control from the beginning till the end. So if I'm saying that a person has an authority to raise a sales order, then from raising a sales order till the collection of proceeds from the trade receivable, the entire process we have to audit as an auditor and see whether the client is having efficient and effective internal controls or not. Now here we can easily understand the process which an organization has. Then fourth, what organizational changes are happening. So to be honest, every economic activity happening around us has impact on the financial statements of an organization. So the person who is auditing revenue needs to give reasons why the revenue has increased or decreased with respect to the previous financial statements. Now, supposingly I am auditing March 22 figures, I have to give specifically mention the reasons that why the revenue of this organization has increased as compared to the figures which have been mentioned in last year. And this helps us to understand the client as well as the industry in which the client is working. So honestly speaking, to give an example, when I was working in Grant Thornton, there was a client which was engaged in the business of manufacturing tea and coffee. Now their sales has significantly reduced, and the reason was simple: the starting of Russia-Ukraine war. Now this impacted the exports of the client, as Russia was a major customer of India. Now this you are not going to get to understand from any other profile which you are going to get involved. So here comes stat audit, and this gives you an edge over others as well. Now, along with that, we also get to analyze the organizational data. So supposingly I say the employee headcount, we have to perform procedures whether the organization has appropriate headcount or not, whether there are no any fictitious employees the organization is mentioning or not. So when we are performing audit procedures, we get to learn the business economics as well. Vansh, if you have any point, you can add on this.
Yeah, so like you said, audit begins with planning. So initially we do planning. It is rightly said. Partner comes and he just partner explains us what is the business of the company we are going to audit. Not only partner, managers, and everyone part of the team are present in that meeting, and they brief us about the business, about the top line items, about the transactions that fraud risk transactions that the company has entered during the year, the key audit areas we have to focus, the materiality. So yeah, so everything begins with that. And then a materiality is decided basis on which we decide that these accounts are significant, these accounts are not significant. These are the key audit areas. And then the role of seniors is that the planning part. Then comes the part of executives and interns who execute the planning points. And basically we do the the main part of executing. Like we prepare the work papers, we find the issues, and then we take them to the seniors that these are the issues that we have find. So basically, like he said, that audit begins with walkthroughs. Yeah. So basically, first the RACAM is provided. So risk control metrics. There is a risk control metrics that client provide us. So basis on that, we find that these are the controls. Okay. Then we check that these controls are being implemented. Are these control effective? Are these control efficient? So then that is the first step in audit, that we have to first check controls. And in case there are ineffective controls, then we go for TOD, substantive procedures. And then substantive procedures are performed. And then finally the comfort on number is taken. So everything revolves around numbers, that the numbers are correct. An auditor should have the comfort on number. If he don't have the comfort on number, he cannot sign the financials. That's the main focus. अगर नंबर सही है तो सब सही है, अगर नंबर गलत है तो फ्रॉड है. डोंट नो फ्रॉड
Very
क्या
true,
है.
very true. Honestly speaking, now from this I can infer that audit is a serious business. So it is not easy to everyone do audit, but when you get an opportunity to audit, make sure that you are getting a lots of learnings from it. So now that we know what actually an auditor does, let us understand how can we enter into the field of auditing. So post your completion of CA Intel, now supposingly today results have came and I cleared with flying colors. So how to start preparing for the audit profile? So first of all, the preparation for audit profile should not start post your result. It should start from the day you are preparing for the audit subject. While you are studying audit, now this statement is not exaggerated. While you are studying audit, make sure you are clearing your concepts. Make sure you are not only just mugging up the concepts, you are understanding what actually the concept is. So supposing I say the difference between positive confirmation and negative confirmation, understand the difference between that, and then write the language which the ICI has mentioned in our module. So first of all, make sure that you are very thorough with the essays which the institute has mentioned in the modules. Along with that, be clear with your accounting standards, the accounting standards which you have learned during your CA inter days. Then make sure you are very much clear with the TDS provisions, because see, understand, in financial statements there's a line item by the name statutory dues. So in that we have TDS liability, so that also we need to audit. And for that, we need to know at least what a section says. So supposingly we say 194J, you should at least know what the section is actually about. That it is about professional fees, payments made to a professional fees, or rather I would say technical fees. So these three things we need to first be clear before going in any interview. So make sure that you are technically very strong. Be clear with the name of the essay. So supposingly when I say essay 210, which says agreeing to the terms of audit engagement. So supposingly the interviewer asks you a question related to that, make sure you are quoting the essay name along with the essay number. See, if you guys are understanding, make sure that note down these points, because these points are surely going to help you during your interview days, because I had prepared in the same way and I had been selected in the first round of interview from Grant Thornton. So first of all, make sure that when you're giving interview, be clear with your audit concepts and be thorough with the essay numbers along with the heading of the essay. So when I say essay 520, which says about analytical procedures, quote the essay number and quote the name of the essay. So as per 520 analytical procedures are procedures which involves quantitative as well as qualitative aspects. Now these two things we need to mention. Along with the content which you're speaking, make sure you're quoting the essay name as well as essay number. This happened first point. Secondly, be clear with the AS as well as Ind AS. Now when I say Ind AS, now student will say, oh, first of all, that is not in our CA Inter syllabus. Ind AS is in CA final. I agree with that. You need not be thorough with each Ind AS, but at least know the name of Ind AS which you are going to study in CA finals. In many interviews, in my interview as well, I had given interview in 12 CA firms. Before joining Grant Thornton, I had given interview in 12 CA firms. So this one strategy, each one of you should remember, never say no for any interview. If you're getting an option to give interview, make sure you give an interview, because every interview is a learning experience for you. You are going to learn something new or the other from each interview. Each interviewer is going to ask you separate questions, separate set of questions in a different way. So to summarize the experience which I got from my interviews of 12 interviews, first of all, be clear with your audit concepts, be clear with your Ind AS as well as AS concepts. Now, when I say Ind AS, don't study entire Ind AS. Study the main Ind AS, revenue recognition, PPE, property, plant and equipment, these Ind AS. Make sure you know the number as well as name of Ind AS. Now, in many interviews, they will ask you the difference between Ind AS as well as AS, because they know that every CA student is going to study CA final and they have studied AS in CA Inter. So when they know that Ind AS is going to be there in CA final and a student has studied CA Inter, they will ask you the difference between Ind AS as well as AS, because major clients are Ind AS clients. So make sure you are Googling what is the difference between Ind AS and AS. So to give one example, the major difference between Ind AS and AS is that in Ind AS, everything is valued at fair value. And in AS, all the line items are valued at historical cost. So this major difference, if you are able to highlight in your interview, that will give you an edge that the interviewer knows this student is not only a hardcore study bookworm. This student also knows to study the future concepts which he is going to learn in future. So this will surely help you. Along with that, be clear with TDS provisions. Then the most important thing, supposingly I say this is audit syllabus, this 11 to 12 chapters are there. First of all, prioritize the chapters which interviewer is going to ask. Now, when I say prioritize the chapters, I mean it. See, when I'm doing financial statements audit, I'm doing audit of line items in the financial statement. Let me be very clear. An interviewer does not prepare before taking an interview. He takes interview based on what he is doing in his day-to-day life. Every day he is performing audit of financial statements. Every day he is performing audit procedures. He will ask you questions from that only. Now the interviewer asking maybe a manager, maybe a director, maybe a partner. Now at that level, just imagine they are going to prepare audit report. Now for sure they ask questions from audit report, because they know that students generally don't study this aspect. They only study the study audit from upar se, the main essays which are there. So make sure first of all be thorough with SA 700 series, the audit opinion series which I say, SA 701, SA 700, then SA 705, SA 706. Most important essays. Each interviewer test these essays. They will ask you, tell me the difference between qualified opinion and unqualified opinion. So you should be in a position to explain that. Then they will ask you what is pervasive. Now, many of the students who are there in this webinar might not be knowing these concepts. It's completely okay. But make sure you are very clear with these essays, because for sure each interviewer asks you these questions from these essays. After that, the chapter which all CA students tend to give for optional, which is audit of items of financial statements. See, we CA students in our articleship are going to do this only. We are going to perform audit procedures on the line items which are mentioned in the financial statements, and that interviewer is doing this on daily basis. So he's going to for sure ask you questions from that chapter. Now, when I say questions from that chapter, for example, he will ask you, say, suppose Vansh is an interviewee. I will ask you, hey Vansh, you are an auditor of a company. You are auditing revenue. Now tell me what audit procedures you are going to apply. So how Vansh will answer? Vansh will not only mention about accounting standards, he will also tell him the audit procedures which he will perform on revenue. So for example, what he will do, he will take the sales register. The primary thing which he will do, he will match the figure in the sales register with those mentioned in the financial statements. Many a times the figure doesn't match. There is a reconciliation between that. That includes sales return, that maybe some obsolete goods may be there. So these things are there. Now the way you are answering also matters the most. The procedures you are mentioning. So to give an example, what I had done, or rather I would say what interviewers had asked me, he asked me mainly questions on this chapter only. So he asked me what procedures you will perform on trade receivables, trade payables, then revenue, then PPE. These 4 line items he had asked me. But the interviewer can ask other line items too. For example, tax assets. Then we have a deferred tax asset, deferred tax liability, then income tax provision. What procedures you will perform as an auditor? You need to be thorough with that. Many CA students tend to leave that chapter for option during the CA inter days. So make sure that you are studying that chapter because it is the most important chapter from the practical standpoint. Now that we know, we need to be clear with our essays. We need to be clear with accounting standards. We need to be clear with the chapter of auditing financial statements line item. Along with that, you need to be clear with auditing other entities. Now, when I say auditing other entities, make sure you are not mugging up everything, understanding from the point of view of the entity. That supposingly I am an education institution, what all things will be there in the financials of that education institution, and what all procedures we need to perform as an auditor. Just go through that because these questions mainly are asked if the interviewer is doing audit of educational institution or other government entity. He is going to for sure ask these questions. Now this happened. Now the last thing which you have to do is that go through all the essays which I told you. Except 700 series, there are many essays involved. Essay 200 series, essay 300, essay 400, essay 500, essay 600. These are also important essays. There are high chances of that questions are being asked. For example, they may ask you difference between positive confirmation and negative confirmation. So an ideal answer should be, as per SA 505 external confirmation, a positive confirmation is this, a negative confirmation is this. You need to quote the name as well as the number of the essay. Make sure you are quoting the name as well as number of the essay. I hope I have cleared all things now. Once if you have any, you can add points on this.
I guess you have covered everything. Like there is nothing to say or add on in this. Like preparing for audit is quite easy. Just you should know the SS as you rightly said. You should know AS. In some cases, yeah, Ind AS is also important. Knowing the names as you said that. Yeah. So these are the main points. In PwC when I gave an interview, the person who was checking my interview, I and he were literally just bitching about the profile and just laughing and making fun of the profile, audit profile. Like he was so frustrated with the profile that he was making fun of the profile with me. So literally, there are some managers, there are some interviews which are really fun. Like I also gave interviews in many firms, 2022 approximately, and like I never missed an opportunity of giving an interview because I like giving interviews. Till now, it's been 5 months. In December cycle, also I gave interviews in few firms again. Like why not? Like it is altogether different experience. It is altogether giving interview is like connecting with the person who is taking your interview. So in partner round also, like there are rounds of interview. So first there is basically an aptitude test, and aptitude test you have to clear for I guess PwC and KPMG. EY and Deloitte don't take aptitude test. And then second round is of technical round, HR round. Sorry, HR round basically involves questioning about your basic questions like what is your family background, what is your mindset, like those are the questions. Then there is a technical round where like Soham said that technical questions are asked. And then there is a partner round, and partner round is also quite similar to technical round, but it involves some part of HR round also, because partner wants to know you, he wants to know you better, like what is your mindset, like are your skills apt for the profile. So he checks that. And it is really fun to interact with partners because they are so much experienced, and they share literally share their experience with you in your interview if you are quite interactive. So they also like to share experiences. So for me, giving interviews is like connecting with the partners, connecting with the managers, connecting with the HRs of different organization. And yeah, so that's basically the mindset of giving an interview. Yeah.
Perfect, Vansh. Now, let us understand one more question, which is commonly asked in interview, which is why you are choosing audit. So many interviewers ask this question that why audit. So the thing is, you need to give a personalized answer to this. Don't just Google it and just copy paste the answer which Google gives you. Personalize your answer. So when the question was asked to me in Grant Thornton, the answer which I gave See, in CA profession, audit and taxation are the two pillars of CA profession. And considering the knowledge, or rather, I would say the exposure which I got during my CA inter days, I think audit is something which I need to explore practically as well. So this answer I had given in my Grant Thornton interview, and he was impressed with this answer. So I'm not saying copy paste this answer, but personalize your answer. So I had also said that majority of my time I had devoted for studying audit. So supposingly I'm studying for 100 hours, 30% of my time I devoted to audit and 70% of my time to other subjects. So in this way, you are going to convince him that why you want practical exposure in this field. So I hope I have cleared this question. I think if Vansh has
Yeah.
any point, you can add.
Yeah, so the answer to that, you said now what, why you want to do audit. Yeah, so in my first interview, I made a mistake. I said that I don't know which profile to select, so I choose audit. Like that was my answer literally to a manager. And like I was rejected for that interview because of this question, because my all other answers were correct. But when he asked me why you want to do audit, I didn't had an answer, and I said literally that I don't know what to do in my life. Like I think audit is correct for me, and that's why I'm choosing audit, because I'm not getting any other profile. So don't use that. That is really disrespecting to the profile, disrespect to the profile, that you are choosing audit because just because you are not getting into any other profile. That's not the correct answer. Just say that you are interested, like why you are interested. That would be a correct answer to that question.
Yeah, actually, and from this we can learn that each interview is a learning for us. So don't ever reject any interview offer and say that I'm not interested in this interview. Give interview, take 2 to 3 days time from them, and then reject that offer. Make sure you are learning from
Yes.
every interview, because every interview is a unique learning experience. With this, thank you
Yes.
so much, guys. Once if you have any point, you can add, or else we can take the questions from audience.
Yeah. We can take questions. Yeah.
Thank you, speakers, for the valuable information. Now, I would like the people, if they have any doubt, they can ask.
Guys, if you have any questions, silliest of the silliest question, we are here to answer. We are not going to judge you on any basis that you don't know this thing, that thing. We are here to help you. So feel free to ask any question if you have. Okay, I think there are no
I
questions.
would,
Yeah, okay, go on.
yeah. So I think one question that we can think of is, what are your learning from the articleship?
Okay, so first and foremost thing, currently I'm doing my industrial training from DBS Bank. But articleship has for sure helped me, because the questions which were asked during my